but should we take them at their word when they say that they're not going to be saving this biometric data?
That is absolutely false.
Hello and welcome back to Real Clear Politics on Sirius XM. I'm Philip Wegmann, White House correspondent for RCP. Each day across the country, nearly 3 million Americans fly commercially. We get to the airport early, we wait in line, and many of us, without even thinking, allow TSA to scan our face without knowing that there is a right to opt out of biometric screening. More than any other lawmaker, our next guest, Democratic Oregon Senator Jeff Merkley, has led the charge to change this. Senator, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be with you, Philip.
So, to start, Senator, if biometric screening is entirely optional, and if I've already given my data to Apple and a dozen other companies, why all the fuss about this?
But what I'm really concerned about is the way that facial recognition is used to encroach upon freedom and privacy. And we see that around the world. We see China enslaving a million Uyghurs, and a powerful tool they use is facial recognition. That software has gone to half a dozen other countries that have used it to control dissidents in their nation. And it's so inexpensive and it's so pervasive. And you put that power in the hands of a government, and you never know where that government's going to go. But it's possible an authoritarian inclined executive, even here in the United States, might decide to track those people that they disagree with. And suddenly you have a national database, you have a national software screening it, and they're tracking down all the people that are protesting the direction of the government. And suddenly our freedom, our privacy, our freedom of speech and assembly are all powerfully affected. This is not the kind of tool you want to give to a government in a freedom loving country.
And in fact, you've actually had experience with this yourself, not just in the committee, but here at Reagan National Airport, where you've been trying to catch a flight, and you've sort of realized that perhaps sometimes this screening isn't exactly voluntary.
Well, you would never know that you had the ability to opt out at any airport where they had implemented this program. They were expanding it from about 2 dozen to about 400 airports when I undertook this quest to say, hey, wait, what's going on here? This fast expansion to all the major airports across America is the establishment of a national surveillance system controlled by the US government. And people are just unaware, and it's happening so fast. How'd they even get permission to do this? Well, their permission was back in 2001 after the attack on the Twin Towers. You had the government said you can experiment with biometric screening at airports. It certainly wasn't an indication to go do it, and it certainly wasn't facial recognition, because at the time the idea was fingerprints. Well, fingerprints are something entirely different. Like as you're walking down the street, the government can't take a picture of you and tell what your fingerprint is. But facial recognition technology came along. Combine that with the permission granted in 2001 to experiment with biotechnology. And the TSA says, you know what? We can run with this. Congress has never debated it, not in a committee, not on the floor, but we can run and establish a biometric only facial recognition system. And that's what they're en route to doing. In fact, the head of TSA previously said, we intend to make it the only way that you can travel in our country.
So one of the things that you'll notice anytime you go through security is that there's a little plaque there that says that this screening is entirely voluntary and that it's possible to opt out. But should we take the TSA at their word? Is this a voluntary process when a TSA agent with a badge says to step in front of the camera, or is there actually some coercion going on here?
Well, those little plaques are the result of my advocacy, and I've called TSA. I've given them a very hard time. I've given them scripts to write. They have all kinds of signs on the way in, but they had nothing saying it was voluntary. And after much pressing, they started to put up a few signs. But even as you see that little plaque you're talking about, you also there is a smart pad that says follow the officer's instructions. And what is the first instruction you hear from that officer? Step in front of the camera. And so people in that setting, knowing that security is a big deal at airports, are absolutely intimidated to do anything other than follow what the officer says? Are they going to be knocked to the ground? Are they going to be pulled aside? Are they going to be delayed by 15 minutes? Who knows? So I have gone through these checkpoints all over the country, always insisting on using my driver's license. And it has been a range of experiences. But gradually, TSA has done some more training and has put up some more signs, but nobody really believes them. And this is it's just as long as the officer is saying step in front of that camera, people are like, I better do that. Even my own staff has experimented with this, and they feel intimidated. They'll go, we know the senator says we have the right to do this. We saw the sign, but I was ordered to step in front of the camera. It's really hard not to do that.
Mm.
So this is why we have to change the dynamic through legislation, guarantee the fact that Americans do not have to use facial recognition, not have to allow the government to build this national surveillance system. But we have to act now because it's happening really fast.
Well, should we take TSA at their word? I think I know what you're going to say, but should we take them at their word when they say that they're not going to be saving this biometric data? They're not going to be saving the facial recognition scans, or perhaps more importantly, the face print, that numerical series of ones and zeros behind this. Is it really truly deleted within 24 hours?
Well, let's talk about the pre-check system. And the answer is that is absolutely false. And they put up signs that your information is deleted immediately. That is not true. In pre-check, when you sign up for pre-check, hidden in that contract is the ability of them to retain your data. And they say they can retain it data for a period of time for, quote, research purposes. And you have no idea how long they're going to hold on to that. Just on my last trips through Reagan, I saw a new sign that said, your data may be retained for research purposes, because I keep coming back to them and saying, you are lying to the American public. And they keep doing little tiny adjustments, normally in Reagan first, and maybe some of that creeps into a few of the other airports, but they have never been forthcoming in trying to have citizens truly understand the opportunity. And they have put up arguments that are simply false. The first argument that they say is it's a lot faster to use facial recognition. I've timed this at airports where people are using facial recognition, not using facial recognition. In the Portland airport, they've had one stand that doesn't use the photo machine, because I gave Portland a very hard time in my home, Oregon. And it's actually almost faster using your ID, because you don't have to tell the person to step in front of the camera. You don't have to wait for the computer to respond. They scan your driver's license. They look at your face. They go, okay. And so that was a false argument that this is about efficiency. Then they said it's about security. We're going to catch the bad folks coming into our country. Well, we're talking about travel within the United States, not about folks coming into our country. To date, there is no known case of catching a dangerous individual using this, forcing people to use this technology. Well, you might say, well, someday maybe somebody will be caught. Well, yes, there's always the possibility of one person someday, but how much loss of freedom and privacy are we willing to tolerate for a once every few years a clue to someone who might be up something? And here's the thing, they say, well, you know what? We'd be more likely to catch someone if everyone was required to have their photo taken. But if that's the case, and you have a bad actor, well, instead of taking the plane to the next city, they're going to take the train. So now we're going to put facial recognition on the train. Oh, wait, now they're going to take the bus. Oh, now they're going to rent a car. Oh, now they're going to buy a car. We're going to take their picture every time they drive down the freeway to find them. In other words, the national security argument is not true now. It would never be true unless this is a system that tracks us everywhere all the time. So it's not a national security case. It's not an efficiency case. Why are they determined to do this? Well, one, they think in the long term it'll save them and reduce the number of TS agents that they hire. They might not even have to have an agent. You might just enter one of those corridors like you do exiting an airport now, where maybe the doors don't open like they do when you're leaving Reagan National Airport, until they've taken your picture and you're able to enter. Some of the airlines want to use facial recognition as a substitute for paper all the way through, including how you get on the plane and how you drop off your luggage. So there's nobody checking your ID at any point. So maybe cost savings for the airports. We need to act now to stop our government from having a powerful tool to control individuals across this nation.
Yeah, a real world application here. There was a Border Patrol document from 2022 that said for in scope passengers, which is non citizens, there's no guarantee that that scan is deleted. And I'm quoting from the document now. It says that scans, quote, can be retained for 75 years in support of immigration, border management, and law enforcement activities. Are there any indications as of now that the Trump administration is using some of this biometric data gathered from TSA for their deportation efforts?
Do not know. But here's a distinction I want to emphasize. There is a whole separate organization, Customs and Border Protection at the border. So it's not TSA and it's not about travel inside the United States. I have not taken on the cause of saying we shouldn't use facial recognition at the border. It has actually provided some security benefits at moments. I think that that is a different question from travel within the United States. And now you've raised an additional question. To what degree are photos continue to be used for decades on forward? Just like fingerprints sit on a file forever once they've been taken, right? And even folks whose pictures are taken and then they later become citizens, no guarantee those are deleted. So you could have the government tracking everyone who's naturalized for the rest of their lives. Um, it's an encroaching technology that we have, and the fact that Congress has never had serious debates or green-lighted this to happen, we're just stumbling forward into this world of the government tracking us everywhere we go, with not even our Congress paying attention, holding hearings, debating laws, and that's what I'm trying to change.
Well, thank you very much, Senator Merkley. It's rare in Washington, D.C. when you have folks like Senator Marshall, Kennedy, Cruz behind the same issue as Senator Elizabeth Warren and yourself. That's the result, no doubt, of your efforts here.